Hey everyone, hi, hello, hi, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, hi, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Ivy, also known as the Witchypreneur here on YouTube, and this channel is all about the magical, the mystical, and the supernatural. And today we are going to be talking about a specific alien race that supposedly made humans. There's a lot of history behind this race. There is a lot of evidence behind this actually being the case. So sit back, relax, question everything as we talk about the story of the Anunnaki. So one of the oldest races of the human race were people named the Sumerians. And the Sumerians had their own beliefs, religious beliefs, and tales. And a lot of these actually got spun into what we now know is the Bible. But a lot of these actually did originally come from Sumerian tales. And it had started with this race of extraterrestrials named the Anunnaki. Now, the Anunnaki came over 400,000 years ago onto Earth because they needed our resources. They needed gold in order to save their planet. And this is a story that was translated from an ancient tablet that they found called the Inky tablet. And the Inky tablet is one of the Anunnaki gods. The Anunnaki, which is literally translated into those of royal blood, are said to be like the ancient gods of the Sumerian times, and also in Mesopotamia. According to these tablets, specifically a tale called the Genesis account, yes, much like the first book in the Bible, it basically talks about this planet known as Nibiru. And in Nibiru, there lived a species of humanoid-like beings. So they resembled humans a lot, but they weren't exactly humans, that needed to travel because their planet was dying and they desperately needed the resources in order to heal their planet. So they came to Earth because they found gold, and gold was a healing element that they could use to save their planet. So Nibiru essentially ended up reaching the Earth with their spaceships, and with them they brought the resources they needed in order to stay hunkered down onto this planet and to start extracting all those metals and materials they needed and have it transported back to Nibiru. Now, the Anunnaki were basically people, they were basically like the slaves of the Nibirian people, and those were the ones that came down here to Earth to sort of do the hard work and the hard labor for the planet of Nibiru. So these were like the lower class, basically slaves, and they were treated horribly. Now, the Anunnaki were pretty pissed about having to be sent here and doing all the dirty work, and they eventually rebelled against their masters, and they're like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. Create another race, create another species to do this, one that will work harder than us, because we're not going to be the slaves anymore. And so the council members got together and they eventually decided, all right, sure, let's go ahead and create this other race. So they took the DNA of their people and mixed it in with the DNA from species here on Earth and created this brand new race. So at first, Enki and Nimna, which were like the two Anunnaki leaders, they started working with these like humans. They created these human people to start doing the work for them. However, the first few humans weren't like us. They couldn't reproduce, and they had to constantly keep creating them in order to continue to do the hard work that was needed to save the planet. Their planet. Every few years or so, the Anunnaki would come back down and give the people the resources that they needed in order to thrive and to continue the work here on Earth. So eventually these humans ended up, because they had that DNA of the Anunnaki and they were tired of being slaved away, and they eventually rebelled against the Anunnaki as well. And a lot of these Anunnaki ended up turning into wild beasts or beings. So basically the animals, the birds, the bears that we have nowadays might be the Anunnaki that sort of got trapped in these wild forms. So because of this whole rebelling thing, the whole species of humans had to be redone again and again and again. We went from Homo habilis to Homo erectus. Now the chief of the Anunnaki ended up working with this Anunnaki doctor in order to create the Homo sapiens, literally after his image. Sound familiar? Now, the Hebrew word for man is Adam. Now, Adam didn't really refer to a single person or a single entity. It was a race, a class, a clan, if you will. A tribe of human beings called the Adonites, or those who are of the earth. After the Anunnaki created the man, aka the Homo sapiens, they still faced a really big problem. The slaves who escaped and dispersed on a large part of the planet. The solution to this was basically to create a flood so great that everyone would drown. So it was mutually agreed upon that they were going to let these species die in this flood. But one of the leaders, Enki, was like, hey, these people are advanced enough. They deserve to live on this planet. And so, supposedly, he told this man named Noah, and Noah had his family and took a whole bunch of animals on the ark, and the world flooded. I'm pretty sure that story sounds familiar too. Now, when this flood happened, pretty much everyone passed away in it other than the Homo sapiens. So here is where it gets even crazier. Recent scientific discoveries, such as the Neolithic gold mines in South Africa, and the tracking of all human DNA to a single source that they called Eve from the Genesis, have been able to confirm the interpretation of the Sumerian records. And yet another interesting fact is that scientists cannot determine how Homo sapiens arrived to this world 49,000 years ago without any possible explanation to its sudden evolution. So, with all these things going on, with scientists discovering DNA code, let's take a look at some more science research. We're going to take a look at our DNA. So, science has already mapped out the human genome and has identified specific genes like our skin color, our eye color, our hair, etc., 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 right? But some people know that some of our DNA isn't even human-like, and some may even go as far as calling it alien. There was actually a recent research paper done in the proceedings of the National Academy of Science that has revealed that the human genome contains at least 19 pieces of ancient viral DNA. More so, complete genetic strands of these were found in 2% of the people who were tested. And these genetic strands were like viruses or something like that. So the ancient genetic fragments found from the viruses found in our genomes are known as human indigenous, I don't know how to say this word, retroviruses, or HERVs. So basically 8% of the human DNA contained this HERV thing, or HERVs, I don't know how you say this, HERV. So because of that, they're saying that the Anunnaki basically played a very key role to the evolution of human creation. And there's so much proof of that, including like ancient manuscripts that talk about different races of people throughout the whole world, time and time again, being visited by aliens, aka, just watch Ancient Aliens, and them getting the resources that they need onto this world. The ancient texts of Mesopotamia, for example, are definitely linked to several different passages of the Hebrew Bible. For example, the Epic of Gilgamesh is pretty equivalent to the Noah's Ark story, and the Book of Genesis in the Torah is pretty much very similar to the Sumerian creation myth involving the Anunnaki. So, what do you think? Do you think that we were made by this ancient alien race? Do you think they're still out there now? when the government disclosed UFOs, do you think that that's the Anunnaki that are coming back? Do you think they're ready to return? And that return of Jesus is actually the return of the Anunnaki? So that is the story of the Anunnaki. Now let's move on to my final thoughts before we close off this video. All right, so final thoughts. Obviously that story is a bit of a trip. It's pretty scary and it's pretty creepy if you really think about it. I mean, were we made by these aliens, by this ancient extraterrestrial race? I mean, the fact that the government already disclosed that UFOs exist, we know that they have come to this earth, we know that we are seeing them. What does that mean? Okay, there's just so much evidence to this whole Anunnaki thing. I mean, for one, the Sumerians are like one of the first species, the first people out there, right? And the fact that their stories very much resemble stories from different religions, you know, especially the basis of the whole Bible that we know nowadays, is pretty insane. And the fact that we have this like DNA strand that nobody knows what it is pretty insane. However, that explains so much. I personally feel like this is a valid theory. I just think there's so much evidence behind it to just completely dismiss it. I know that there's a lot of people out there that communicate with these extraterrestrial beings via remote viewing or whatever it may be. So I do know that we have divine DNA within us. I know that we have a little bit of extra something, a little bit of extra abilities than we are aware of because of this divine DNA. So who's not to say that we aren't this like ancient alien extraterrestrial race, right? I don't know. I do think it's a valid theory. I think that there is a lot of solid proof behind it. Also, the fact that the price of gold is like always going up. Ever since I was a kid, I would always see like gold commercials, sell your gold and get this much money, almost as if it's still a resource that we value. And then in the 1800s, everybody came here for the gold rush. It just makes so much sense. And the fact that like a lot of people see like UFOs and aliens, especially like in the deserty areas of like California, which I believe, I could be wrong, is like where people would mine gold and stuff, is pretty insane. It's pretty insane and pretty trippy to think about. And I just feel like this isn't a theory that we should just sweep under the rug just because there's so much proof that it's a possibility. So I'm not saying no, that it's not possible. I'm not saying it's a for sure yes, but it's a definite, very hard maybe. Now, if you guys like extraterrestrials, if you guys want to know more about extraterrestrials, I did make a few videos about extraterrestrials and aliens because I love the topic. Also, I will link down below to some people that do allegedly communicate with extraterrestrials using remote viewing, using meditation, using all these different kinds of methods that I personally watch down below, including like Elizabeth April, who I really enjoy. I'll put their channels down below in case you want to see a little bit more into the whole spiritual side of the extraterrestrials and the aliens and their agendas and all that as well. If you guys want me to cover any other topic, please let me know down in the comments. If you guys haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to be notified when I post. I usually post once a week. Stay tuned for next week for another video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!